hear it for the Dunbar High School Band. Yes. Thank you so much. That was fabulous, but you made me feel bad because I'm a failed saxophone player. Twice. But Mr. Miles Davis and Mr. John Coltrane up in heaven are smiling down at me today. Thank you so very much. Good afternoon and welcome to all of you, and a special welcome not only to the Dunbar High School Band, but also to our guest speaker, Patrice Sanders from Fox 45, who we'll be hearing from later. Today is GBMC's annual Black History Month, and for the first time, Spirit of King Award celebration. It's very important to take time to remember our nation's history and to reflect on the contributions of our Black brothers and sisters at GBMC, in our community, in the nation, and in the world. Our theme for this year's commemoration of Dr. King, as you remember, was NIA equals purpose, honoring the past and empowering the future. And we are continuing with this theme for our Black History Month celebration. NIA represents the fifth principle of Kwanzaa. It encourages us all to look within, to discover our own purpose so that we may make positive changes in the community. The idea of NIA focuses on the movement to empower future generations by learning from the successes and challenges of the past. Oftentimes, we look for leaders to follow, believing that we do not have the power to be vehicles of change ourselves. I want to remind you that we all possess the power to be leaders in our workplace, in our schools, in our families, and in our communities. We celebrate Black History Month to honor the rich traditions, culture, and contributions of African Americans and events in the history of the African diaspora. It is an opportunity to expand our own learning and to remember how Black people have made contributions in the past and continue to contribute so much to our world today, as we just witnessed by this wonderful band. It is particularly important to us at GBMC to celebrate our diverse cultures. We are strong because of our people. We are strong because of the additive strength of all our diverse parts. Learning about the diverse histories, perspectives, and experiences of one another leads to enhanced working relationships, stronger teams, and, under our fourth aim, the experience of more joy at work. As part of our celebration of Black History Month today, we will honor a GBMC employee who embodies the spirit and the life work of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. through his or her service in the local community. So we are excited to celebrate our first ever recipient of the Spirit of King Award today. So again, thank you all so much for joining us here today, and please enjoy our celebration. And with that, I'd like to welcome to the podium our chaplain, Joseph Hart, the Director of Spiritual Support Services, to lead us in a prayer. Joe?
Good afternoon, everyone, and again, a warm and gracious welcome to all of you. Indeed, we are a people of purpose in our remembrance and in our celebration of one another and in the cultural diversity in which we live, and in celebrating Black History Month. Today, as we gather, I invite us to pray in a spirit of purpose, that what I've written has to do with lighting that inner fire of purpose within us that I hope we take forth from today and live out in our lives. And so let us pray. And so we affirm that love is our greatest purpose. And we pray that the fire that we are invited to live within is to accept one another in the truest sense of faithful living. May our lives be resolved to search for truth as our constant star. May we pledge our hearts, our minds, and our hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our purpose and our values in everything that we do in this beloved community of GBMC. May we continue to have a purpose that enkindles within us the spirit of hope, the spirit of truth, and the spirit of justice, that we might truly strive each day to know, to love, and to serve each other and our patients and their families. For we ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Tune that embodies the emphasis of jazz. It's an older tune. It was written in 1939, and I don't see anybody here. That was made popular by the Count Basie Band, but it was written by the Benny Moses Orchestra in Kansas City, entitled Tuxedo Junction.
County. I'm honored today to be introducing our guest speaker, Patrice Sanders. Patrice Sanders is the anchor for Fox 45 News. She joined the morning news team in April of 2003. Patrice has received numerous awards and community distinctions for her work. She received an AP award for a series tackling the problem of childhood obesity. She received another AP award for a behind-the-scenes look at the trainer responsible for Baltimore Ravens Ray Lewis' whirling workout routine. In 2006, Patrice was awarded Towson University Distinguished Alumni of the Year Award. Prior to joining Fox 45, Patrice anchored and reported in Boston, California, and Pennsylvania. Her career in journalism started in 1995 at ABC's News Nightline in Washington, D.C. Patrice grew up in Mitchell, Maryland, and graduated from Towson State University. Since moving to Baltimore, Patrice has been very active in the community. She is frequently asked to speak at schools, churches, and community events. Much of Patrice's time is dedicated to being a mentor for journalism students interested in pursuing a career in news. She is also an adjunct teacher for Sheffield Broadcasting Institute, teaching news, writing, and delivery. Outside of work, Patrice is passionate about her work with children and giving them a strong foundation for a lifetime of healthy fitness and nutritious habits. She's a certified fitness instructor and children fitness specialist. She volunteers in city schools and provides fitness camps for students. Patrice also serves as the president of Monty Sanders Fit Families Incorporation. The nonprofit was founded in 2009 by Patrice and her husband and is aimed to eliminate childhood obesity. Patrice works regularly with American Heart Association and is a member of its Go Red Women Leadership Council. She is also a supporter of the Suited to Succeed organization and a member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Patrice enjoys reading, photography, and spending time with her husband, daughter Naomi, and their dog. Please welcome Patrice Sanders.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to update the bio and take some of those dates out because if y'all do a little math, yeah, we're gonna move on. You all are amazing. You all are amazing. Yeah. That is a talent that I do not have. Embarrassingly, my father was an educator for 37 years before he retired. He was a music teacher. Yes. And I don't have a musical bone in my body. My sisters all sing. My sisters and my brother all play instruments. We even have in our extended family, because everybody can sing except for me, we have a family choir called the Harris Connection. Only I don't get to be in the choir. I'm the MC for the choir. I introduce them. So, but you all are amazing. I thank you so much for inviting me here to be part of this today, Jennifer and John. It's been a while since I've been here. When I was pulling into the garage there, it was bringing back memories the last times I was here. This is where I have my daughter, Naomi. Yes. And it is blowing my mind that Naomi is going to be 4 next week. We have a big birthday party planned. All of my family is coming in from out of town. So it is amazing. And I'm pretty sure that I had a birthing class in this room where you all, say this is what to expect, this is what you're going to go through. You all might want to update that. I can give you some ideas because this is a journey like no other. You all couldn't have prepared me for this. But that little girl she is the light of our lives, and we thank you all for helping to bring her into our lives. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak with you all today. This Black History Month is a bittersweet one for me. I lost my grandfather in December, the week before Christmas. He was 93. He lived a good, full, rich, good life. And so we miss him, and we miss this huge presence that he was in our lives, but more so, we celebrate him and we try to continue to live in the legacy that he left behind, which is why it is so fulfilling for me to be able to stand up here today. In our family, my grandfather was the champion for civil rights. Reverend Curtis W. Harris, he marched alongside Dr. King throughout the civil rights movement. He was the president of the Virginia SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And so anytime there was something going on in that region, Dr. King would come, and he had dinner with my grandparents in their home many times while they planned the marches and the protests. And so I grew up seeing all the pictures on the wall in my grandparents' house of them, and in my parents' home, and then now we have them also in my home. But my grandfather was my introduction into the civil rights movement, and choosing what you know to be true and then walking forward in that path. It wasn't an easy time for him, obviously. He endured the hatred and the contempt of those who did not believe in what he was fighting for. He had Molotov cocktails thrown in his home, the home that he shared, with his wife and his 6 children, one of them being my father. They had the crosses burned in the yards. We have the newspaper articles where you see the crosses in the yard. He was jailed numerous times. One of those times I know we talk about in our family was, a 60-day stint that he was in jail, away from his family, away from his livelihood. But he did all of those things. He endured it all because there was purpose in what he was doing and what everyone was doing at that time. He believed in the God-given rights that we are all entitled to, and he fought for them, no matter the cost, because he knew that the bigger cost of not fighting for them, for him and for future generations, was a price that we didn't really want to pay. So he fought the fight. Now, was it fun? Was it convenient? Was it safe? Was it profitable? Was it any of those things? Of course not. But it was necessary. And so that is the lesson that I grew up learning. That is what was instilled in me and my siblings, that you do the right thing, even when it's the hard thing to do. And not only was my grandfather an activist, he was also a pastor. So we also learn that you love everyone, even when that's hard, and even when they don't love you, that you still have to be a light. You still have to be a living example of what God intended for us to be and of God's love. And it seems like competing ideas when, he was faced by the hatred of that day, but he lived that, and he set that example for all of us, our huge, entire, big family. Now, I don't know how my grandfather was called to his purpose. I don't know what set him on his course. I just know that he never swayed from that. That is what he lived, and that is what he taught all of us, is that you are here to do something to help others. But what does that mean, helping others? That's a big concept sometimes. What does it mean to fight for what's right? To me, sometimes that starts with just how you're looking at the situation. What are you focused on? Are you focused on the problem, or are you focused on the solution? For us, the big news, well, not the big news, it's been one of the stories we've covered in the last few days, but it has been the USA Today article about Baltimore, and how this USA Today article has written Baltimore off as the worst city in America, the most dangerous city in America. There is no overlooking the problems that we have in Baltimore. You can't overlook that. They're there. You don't want to sweep them under the rug because you want to address them. You want to talk about them. You want them to be addressed. But is an article like that necessarily where we should spend a lot of time putting our attention, putting our focus on that? Do we sit back and just lament over how bad things are and sulk in this dark place? Oh, Baltimore is terrible. Do we point fingers? Do we place blame and spend all of our time doing that? Or do you roll up your sleeves and you sit back and say, okay, here are the problems, here are the issues, now what can I do to help? How do I make a difference here? Because the truth is, nothing is ever all bad, no matter what that article says. Nothing is ever all bad. Baltimore is not all bad. And even in the current climate and a lot of tension in our country is not all bad. And shame on people who would make you think that. The same way that USA Today can write that article about Baltimore being the worst city in the country, Southwest Magazine, this is the magazine that is in the airline pocket anytime you fly. Anybody fly Southwest? So it's that magazine that maybe you read, maybe you don't. They just did an article about Baltimore, and their article was called Baltimore, the most underrated city in America. This is the city that you're missing. And they highlighted the food and the art scene, and they said we spent time talking to the people, and they were the friendliest, and they were so diverse. So that's how they see Baltimore. It's all in a matter of how you look at it, how you view a situation. The tiniest of coins can, if you put it close enough to your face, can blot out the sun. So it's a matter of what your focus is. Are you looking at the tiny tarnished coin of all the bad things, of all the problems that we know are out there? Or are you looking past that at the sunlight of possibilities? If we all the good people, get involved with making a difference. I like to talk about this person. I met her about a year ago, but she does amazing work in Baltimore. A lot of you may be familiar with her, but her name is Dionne Joyner-Weems. She's with Visit Baltimore. And she gets it, and Visit Baltimore and that organization gets it. And I know that's their job, but they do a good job of trying to get the spirit of Baltimore out there. She fights fiercely for the image of Baltimore. She sees all that's good with this city. She sees the families. She sees the hardworking people. She sees the love. And she tries to get all of us to see that. So they have this campaign, this hashtag My Be More campaign, where they flood social media with all the positive images of what's going out there to counteract a lot of the negative images that you see. And I realize that a lot of negative images are coming from the news. We don't always get it right in how we portray things. I know that, and I feel that on a daily basis, but we do get some things right. I don't know. But I love and appreciate what they try to do about putting out these positive images of Baltimore and all that's going on, because it is so important. How you see a thing, how you perceive a thing, is how you interact with that thing. So if you perceive it as a threat, if you perceive it as less than, if you perceive it as dispensable, that's how you interact with it. And that's the conflict. That's where the conflict comes in. As opposed to you seeing something as valuable, as innocent, as loved. There's a difference in how you interact with that. So the goal is to get more positive interactions overall. So if you can see problems in Baltimore, because we know we have some, as every city across this country does, but if you can see the problems and not pass judgment, but instead say, you know what, I want to be part of making this better. I want to be part of whatever the solution is. I want to be part of that. Then you're on the right track to me. Knowing what to do, though, and how to get started to make a difference, I think that's what trips a lot of people up. I mean, we all want to feel like we're being helpful. We all want to feel like we're doing something. We have a purpose. Finding what that is sometimes, I think, trips a lot of people up. And I don't think that there's any one way that you can approach that, because we all come from different life experiences and different perspectives. But I have 3 things that I want to say about that, and then I'll let you go. My words of wisdom for you here today come from HGTV, Home and Garden Television. Deep stuff on there, in case y'all didn't know. I come home from work, my husband has on news. Oh, no, we're gonna turn that off. And I put it on HGTV, because I can deal with that kind of background noise in the house. It's calming, it's comforting. and then I go spend money. There's a commercial for a show about home renovation on HTV, and the woman in the commercial says, use the gift you have to make your place better, no matter where that place may be. Now, I know she's talking about building some beautiful house and she's going to tear down some walls and do this and that, but doesn't that apply to what we can all do if we're thinking about how to carry the legacy from the past and what we have now been able to do because of people who acted and moved and did things on our behalf? Then we've got to carry that torch. Use the gift you have to make your place better, no matter where your gift may be. Just start where you are, using whatever talent, whatever gift that you have to be a solution to some kind of problem, to just be helpful, to make somebody feel better, to make somebody's day better. That's all it takes. And we could be talking about whatever you do impacting this whole city. It could impact one school. It could impact a boys or a girls group. It can impact one person. It just has to make a difference. You just need to start. And the Bible tells us that your gifts will make room for you. Opportunities will present themselves if you are willing. It's crazy the amount of doors that open if you're in a group and they're always looking for the workers in the group, and if you raise your hand and they say, oh, that one's willing, and then they come to you every time because they know that they have a willing person. Doors will open. Opportunities to do good and be good and make a difference will happen if you are just willing to be that person, if you're willing to start. Here in Baltimore, Erica Buck Alston, she was a founder and a big movement behind the Penn North Kids Safe Zone. She put that together in the aftermath of the Freddie Gray turmoil in the city. And there was a lot of tension in that time. And she just was looking to give kids an outlet in the city. They needed a place to go. They needed something to do. She was trying to meet an immediate need. And I don't know that she had a grand plan when she went into it. She just wanted to meet an immediate need. And it turned into something so much bigger and so much more wonderful for the kids in that area. And because of that, she's been highlighted on national news. She's been invited to speak all over the place. She's in magazines. She's in newspapers. She didn't start out thinking, oh, what can I do today so I can gain some fame? And it happened because she was doing a good and needed thing. Her purpose was just to help a child. So you don't have to start out with some great plan, some big thing. You just have to start. And you all said it can be right here on the job. It can be in your schools. You just have to do something that can help make a difference. If you leave here today and you see someone walking down the hall and you see that they need help with something, start there. It can be as little as that, because you don't know how what you do for that one person will then carry on and resonate to other things. You don't know how far-reaching that can be. I speak at events all the time, and before I ever speak, no matter what it is, if it's something political, something like this, it doesn't matter what it is. I always say, God, please just use me. You've given me this platform, so please just use that. And so many times I leave and I say, oh, was anybody paying attention? Did I say something that mattered? We're always our own worst critic. And so many times people come back to me later and say, you know what, I heard you speak at XYZ, and that inspired me to go back to school. Or, you know what, you introduced me at this event to someone over here, and I was able to get a job. I mean, it comes back, and you don't know at that time how it's going to make a difference. You just do it. You just do it because you know you're helping someone. So that's my first word of advice. Just start. Just do it. And whatever that something is, number two, you can't let someone else define what your something is going to be, what your purpose is going to be. My grandfather knew that this world was not his home. It was his temporary assignment. He was here to do some work, whether it was fun, whether he wanted to do it, whether others wanted to keep him in his place. He was here to do that work. And when God calls you to do a purpose and puts you on a path, who are you to say no to that? And then who is anybody around here to tell you you're wrong for doing what you feel like you've been called to do? So make a difference in whatever way you feel led to make a difference. If you want to protest a TV show because you don't necessarily like the content that's on that show, you don't think it's appropriate for the airways, then maybe your protest is enough to just turn that off in your home. I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to give them the ratings. Or maybe you feel led to lead a march in front of the television station so that you can get a conversation going on about why that's not appropriate and what we would like to see on our televisions or on our airwaves instead. Whatever it is, that is your calling. No one can tell you that that's right or that's wrong. If that's what you choose, you just own it and then have the power of your convictions to do what you think is right and move forward with that. And then number 3, don't compare your purpose to someone else's. Sometimes we look at the enormity of things that have to be done out there, the enormity of what we need in this world, and we just feel intimidated to start. I can't make a difference. There's so much that needs to be done. Well, you know what? There is so much that needs to be done, so much that we don't have time to compare what somebody else is doing. And if you don't think that your small input is enough, then you've never heard the proverb that if you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. You will feel that. Some people are going to be called to be the leaders of movements. They have the vision. They have the ideas. They have the guidance to move whatever it is forward. They have the charisma. They're those kind of people to move things forward. Some are going to be called to be the organizers and the planners because their skill set is in the details. They know how to get it done. That's where I am. You tell me something, if I don't know, I'm going to figure it out, A to Z. Some are going to be behind the scenes in a much smaller role in that kind of sense because they're comfortable being behind the scenes. They don't want to be known. They don't want to be out front. But there's so much that has to be done, and we all have different skill sets. It's just a matter of being willing to do something. Now, I can look back at my grandfather. He's in history books. He's in school books. There's libraries named after him. I can see his accomplishments. They're on the walls of, now my aunts and uncles' homes. So I can see his accomplishments on a daily basis. But he would be very proud of me standing up here today, and I don't have one book written about me because that's not what it's about. Now you might say, well, you're on TV, you have a big platform. But some days I think about my purpose in that. I mean, I've been doing it for a long time now. I've been in news for 23 years. And, when you first get started, you have a gusto about it. Over the years, you wonder, okay, well, am I making a difference in that? And the things that are the most meaningful for me, and I know I feel purpose, and this is the good thing. It's nothing that you see on television. It's work that I do in the community. It's work with the children when we do our fitness camps. It's working in leadership academies. It's work when I'm able to do something that empowers women. Those are the things that mean most to me. And I don't need recognition for that. I just need to know that I helped someone, and sometimes I don't even know if I did, but I just feel like I just need to know that I did something that I felt like I was supposed to do, whether I knew the outcome or not, whether I knew what I was doing in that moment or not. You just have to act. There is purpose in all things, even in the darkest or most frustrating of times. And I think that the only time that we lose the purpose and the opportunity for meaningful change is when we do nothing. When we let those moments that have stirred some passion in us just slip by because we don't know what to do next. Maybe something major comes from your involvement, or maybe nothing that you can see happens, but it does serve a purpose. So I'm just going to leave you with this quote, because when I saw it, I thought that's very appropriate for the time and just for the message of today. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally, The broken world awaits in darkness for the light that is you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So thank you, Patrice, for, I know Bonnie only read a small portion of your bio, but seems like you keep busy, so thank you very much for taking time out from your busy schedule to share a few moments with us today. For those of you keeping score, I am not on the agenda, but I'm still in time. So, Dr. Chisar mentioned that in addition to Black History Month, we are celebrating for the first time at GBMC the Spirit of King Award. And so that is my purpose for being up here today. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King believed in something greater than himself. So much so that he was willing to, and ultimately, gave his life in service of others. He believed people had a choice between serving one's own desires and ambitions and serving something greater, something higher. He believed service, not servitude, was the key to our future. In a sermon at the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church on August 11, 1957, Dr. King posed this question to the congregation. Every person must decide at some point whether they will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness. This is the judgment. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? It is in this context that the GBMC Spirit of King Award was conceived. The award seeks to recognize employees who, through their volunteer efforts in their communities, have answered life's most persistent and urgent question, what are you doing for others? For our inaugural award, we received 5 nominations. A committee involving a cross-section of GBMC employees then shortlisted 2 finalists before deciding on a winner. So before I announce the winner of the first GBMC Spirit of King Award, I would like to recognize our 2 finalists, Kerry Roberts and Vanta Brewster. Is Kerry here? I know Vanta is not here, but Kristen Truwinski, who nominated her, and her manager is here. So Kristen, could you please stand? And Kerry, so could we give them a round of applause? So both were very strong nominations. Actually, all 5 were very strong, but we had to select a winner. And let me read a short bio of their nomination. The winner of the award is a member of the Barbados Association of Baltimore, which was founded by her brother. Since her brother's passing, she and her husband have continued to run the association. Part of the organization's mission is to award scholarships each year to college-bound high school students. The requirement for the students are to have good grades, write an essay explaining why they're deserving of the scholarship, volunteer in their communities, include a letter of recommendation in the application, and come back to mentor future students. Our winner and her husband spends the entire year raising funds to award these scholarships to these high school students. It is with great honor and on behalf of the MLK and Black History Month Committee to announce the first winner of the GBMC Spirit of King Award, Vanta Brewster.
program today?
Yeah.
We just want to give another round of applause to Patrice. Thank you so much for coming. And Mr. Fun and the high school jazz band ensemble, thank you all for being here. So, when we talk about purpose, Mr. Fun, you actually, thank you for walking in your purpose, because I attended Dunbar High School in 9th grade. I didn't graduate from there, but he was the first person who showed me or introduced me to reading music. And that was in 9th grade. Some students do it when they're younger and things like that, but thank you. And now I know how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the trombone. But we want to give a special thanks to the MLK and Black History Month Planning Committee. Without you all, this would not be possible. We would also like to shout out Human Resources. Thank you, that's my team. Spiritual Support Services, Food and Nutritional Services, and the Department of Philanthropy. Thank you all. Also, we would like to thank Southern Blues, which is the company that catered our event today. So thank you. And we're going to have a final selection by the Dunbar High School Jazz Ensemble.
I'd like to do a tune in closing by Herbie Hancock, one of my favorites. It's a jazz fusion tune entitled Fat Albert.